Welcome back to Hertz Arena for another Florida Everblades pregame show alongside Jake Maurice. I'm Ali Bellucci. Today we're talking the South Carolina Stingrays series, a tough weekend for the Blades and going up against a top power play in the league. Jake, not an easy schedule, another 3-3 all on the road for the Blades. They only walk away with 1 point on the weekend. What was missing offensively?
Well, offensively, I think they were all right, but they did capitalize on enough of their chances, particularly in the two games against Savannah where they got over 40 shots in both games. The bigger problem for me was defensively. Everblades just showed problems being able to lock things down, something we really haven't seen this year, especially against caliber of opponent that the Everblades were facing this past weekend. And also the Everblades really had some trouble handling the momentum swings of their opponents inside their opposing barns. But now that you're back home, you get to be on the other side of it. The Hertz Arena crowd going to be here to support the Everblades for 3 straight games against South Carolina.
Florida now in a much tougher position than they were prior to this weekend. You add in more injuries on top of this. It starts to affect the mental toughness side of this. How important do you think that side of the game is going to play into these next 3 games?
It's going to be everything. I mean, this is where champions are made, right? You get through the toughest parts of your schedule when you're arguably your weakest lineup of the year. You're down to no guys on reserve, basically, that are ready to step into the lineup, except for John McCarron coming back. That is going to be a huge boon, especially for the veteran guys. Having him coming back into the lineup should provide a good amount of energy with the home crowd. It's just a matter of managing yourself mentally, of making sure that you come into the game, you're fully confident that even though you're missing a bunch of guys to call-ups in the AHL and to injury, and you're being tasked with playing with line mates you're not used to playing with, and you have to step up and maybe go into a role you're not quite comfortable with, you just got to do it for the sake of the team. You got to believe that the coaching staff and your teammates around you are going to set you up for success, even though you're in a tough spot right now.
Florida now going up against the top power play in the league. Their PK is going to have to execute extremely well. The last 3-game series we had against South Carolina, Florida's PK went 10 for 14. What part is going to have to execute the best aspect-wise on the PK?
Probably standing up at the blue line. That's what killed Florida in the game on Sunday against Savannah, who has a very good power play of their own. Florida was doing perfectly up until the late second period when a collapse of the blue line, one guy slips in behind, they get a rush opportunity and they score, and that ended up being the game-winning goal. So you got to make sure that you're strong at your line, because once you get the clears, if they can't get over your blue line with possession, it's going to be way harder for them to set up. They have to go chase after the puck, and you have a bit of advantage because you could have a couple defenders back ready to go get those pucks. You can just force them to reset in the neutral zone, have to turn back, maybe get a steal and go up for a shorthanded opportunity. Strength at the blue line on the PK is going to give the Everblades the best chance to get the kills. I mean, once South Carolina gets into the zone, you're basically just hoping that Cam Johnson and Evan Fitzpatrick can do their things, and then the defensemen help them out as needed. Make sure you're blocking the passing lanes, but the blue line is where I want to see the Everblades at their strongest when they're down a man.
South Carolina's PK on the last 3-game series was almost perfect, 11 for 12. Florida's power play unit now is missing even more offensive assets. Who do you expect to see to step up in these next 3 games?
Well, Jake Smith, even though the Everblades couldn't get a power play goal this past weekend, did have some really good opportunities with the man advantage. Obviously, you look to guys like Joe Pendenza, you look to guys like Nathan Steos and Lucas Cabell, who've been quarterbacking at the blue line all season long. Blake Winicky as well, Brad Morrison. Basically, it's going to be the regular contributors that we've seen over the past couple of weeks when the Everblades first started to get into this next wave of injuries and call-ups. It's just a matter of everyone finding that little bit of extra energy. On Sunday, they were tired, but now you're back home. You've gotten a couple days of rest in your own home with your families and friends, your own bed.
Yeah.
I hope that can give the Everblades a lot more energy on the power play. And all it takes is one good shot, one good chance, and the Everblades can get their power play rolling in the right direction.
We've talked about mental toughness before, but after a tough weekend like these past 3 games for Florida, they moved down to 4th place in the South Division, 68 points. Only 18 games left in the season. How do you expect to see them come out into this weekend?
This is the biggest week of the season, no doubt about
Absolutely.
it, for the Florida Everblades. I mean, South Carolina right now 1 point ahead of the Everblades in the standings, equal number of games played. That means, assuming if South Carolina sweeps Florida, they're 7 points ahead of the Blades, but if the Blades sweep South Carolina, they're 5 points ahead of them. Whichever team can control this series likely is going to finish ahead of the other team in the standings. They do have a couple more games against each other later in the season, but this week right here, it's really going to set the tone for the stretch run for both teams. This is the last week of the season for the Everblades before the trade and transaction deadline. So this is the last week for head coach Brad Ralph and his guys, general manager Craig West, to really assess this team and see where it needs help, see which guys that are up in the AHL, which ones are most likely to actually come back down, assess your injury situation, and then make roster decisions based on that in case you want to go grab some extra help.
All right, moving on to a lighter note, everyone's favorite part of the pregame show, calling out our number one star of the night. Jake, these guys need our mojo now more than ever. We really have to pull through here.
Yes, we do. We do.
I'm going to start strong. I'm going to go Captain Ben Masela. I think he can feel the energy in the locker room. I think he knows that his team needs to pull through here, and I think he's going to be the leader in all of that.
Yeah, you expect your leaders to step up. I'm going a different direction. One of the new guys, Andrew Fighton, scored his first ECHL goal in the game on Saturday.
Perfect.
Played really well in those 3 games. I really liked what I saw, and this is going to be his home debut. He's going to want to show up. And I mean, what head coach Brad Ralph wanted from these new guys is to just inject some life into the room. The rookies coming in from college, playing in their first pro games. They step their game up. They improve. They show up for the first couple games. Everyone else has to go with them, right? Because you don't want the new guys to show you up.
Right.
So I want to see Andrew Fighton sort of lead by example tonight, alongside Ben Masela, of course.
He's going to bring some energy, I think. Big 3 games here, all against South Carolina. Really tough opponent for us. 3 keys of the game. What do you got?
First one is going to be get ready for a tight game. All for 5 games against the South Carolina Stingrays this year. 4 of them have been decided by 1 goal. The only one that wasn't was because of an empty netter.
Right.
So these are going to be tight defensive games. I don't expect either team to pull away at any point. Special teams, as we talked about, are going to be a big factor. So everything just gets magnified because of how tight these games are going to be.
Absolutely. All right, Blades fans. Wednesday night hockey coming up. Warm-ups and puck drop are up next.